Alright, hello everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm Sentra. I have some chicken and rice with me right here, probably going to make some tea later. I'm just here chilling at home. For any recurring viewers who have kind of missed me, I do have some things I wanted to share, but that'll be towards the end of this video. I am just kind of trying to make this quick little, I guess you could say, reaction video to the announced Mel changes coming in early February. So, without further ado, I wanted to start at first by talking about why these changes are happening. We do have Riot and Misery here, who was Mel's gameplay designer, being the one who's sharing that these changes are happening. I'm really happy to see that they're the one posting it, because I don't think that anyone understands Mel's gameplay design better than her own personal sole designer. I myself have had lots and lots and lots of thoughts of why Mel has probably needed changes, and when they announced them like around a month or so ago, it was kind of obvious that they were going to happen kind of soon, or at least had to happen. We were reaching that point where Mel had been out for almost a year, and her ban rate was constantly really high. People were absolutely miserable with her, right? Whenever like a new champion like really misses the mark on something, they like to give them almost a year to like sort things out, and if they can't figure it out with just balance changes, then they get to the bigger guns like this. So, alright, Editor Sentra, take it away. Greetings all. We're sharing some Mel changes coming to 26.03 and hitting PBE today. This change list is intended to help lower player frustration while playing against Mel through opening up additional counterplay opportunities for opponents beyond the ban button. One big change we have is changing her reflect damage immunity to a shield, which will ensure when Fizz successfully lands his ultimate, she no longer completely negates the damage with the late W. We also want to make sure, when you're laning against her, that you can see her Q coming and dodge out of the way at long ranges, like many spammable projectile spells. Both her Q and E should now be more visually clear, thus easier to dodge, and we've reduced some of the power from her reflect in some situations where her reflections resulted in unexpectedly high damage. While we believe that champion agency can yield frustrating interactions, we also believe there should be avenues for counterplay to balance that out. Frankly, we underestimated how frustrating the play against experience for Mel would be, and are aiming to improve that with this change list. And for players looking to play Mel, we want her to be playable more consistently after the ban phase, while making sure her core gameplay that her players have come to love is not lost. Our goals with these changes are that more players feel they can outplay Mel in ways that match their expectations, and that Mel players can feel more skillful and that their success is a result of that skill. We expect that there will continue to be players whose main champions are highly impacted by Mel's reflection that may continue to prioritize her as a ban, but we're targeting to get her out of must-ban territory for many players. Please let us know what you think of these changes, and we'll be keeping an eye on her as these go live. Back to you, Video Sentra. I want to first, again, talk about why this is happening. To put it really simply, and to put it in a nutshell, people frickin' hate this champion. People really hate playing against Mel. Tons more than most other champions, tons more than what's normal for a champion. And normally it starts with just, you know, it's a new champion, it's scary, people reaction ban whatever's new because they don't understand it and they don't like it. Happens all the time. But Mel has not gotten a lot better. I have some stats right here just to prove it. So, just to start, before we look at Mel's stats, I have Zehen on League of Graphs here first. So, Zehen is the most recent champion to come out in League of Legends, and as of right now, right, 15% ban rate. He's only been out for like 3 patches, okay? Which, this patch is almost over, so he's been out about 3 patches, a really long second patch, right, that lasted I think like 5 weeks, right? But you'll see that his ban rate is kind of, it started at around like 60% and was like steadily declining over time, right? And now he's kind of chill. You know, he's decently popular. I mean, he's a little weak. They'll probably buff him, and then his ban rate will spike again, and that happens all the time, right? But already his ban rate's at like 15%. It's not so bad, and he's the new guy. When the next new champion or VGU comes along, this will probably end up being an even lower ban rate. And then I wanted to look at a different case, not quite Zehen, someone a little bit older, an older champion. This is Yumi. So Yuumi, I think before Mel, Yuumi was the most universally hated champion in League of Legends history. And if you look at her ban rates, it shows. Her ban rates have hit high 60s after her release, right? They've dipped, they've spiked, they've changed around. It's been volatile, right? And whenever Yuumi is like any good, her ban rate's pretty freaking high. Like right here, she's at like 50%, and then she like never goes like... She stays at like over 25% at her lowest, between like 25 and 50%. And nowadays, you know, it's tailed off. She's in like the single digits or like low tens range, right? And Yumi's a very hated character. People freaking dislike this character, and she's hit really crazy high ban rates. Her ceiling is at 70%. At least, using just the basic generic, just like pulling out Liga graphs, it's rated as just Platinum Plus, right? So you're getting like a pretty freaking wide range of things here. I'm not even looking at lower elo, where ban rates get skewed even harder based on just feels and vibes rather than meta. Okay, let's look at Mel. Mel's ceiling is at 80%. She came out with over a 75% ban rate. This character was terrifying. People were just utterly afraid of this character. And then they nerfed her a lot, and she was at like the 47s for a while. Like, she wasn't doing well, and her ban rates simmered down to only around 30%, okay? And it stayed there. Mind you, Mel's ban rate has never gone below 20% in her entire life of the year that she's been out. And then they buffed her around the time that they release a hen, like a patch or two before they release a hen, they buff Mel. It immediately spikes back to the 50s, and it kind of holds. It kind of holds there for a while. Even now, her ban rate, it's doubles a hen's. It's more than doubles a hen's current ban rate, right? Like, Zehen very quickly fell off. Mel has not. Mel is at a 45.6% win rate, and her ban rate is still in the 30s. Because if a ban rate is this constantly high on a character, that even at a what should be balanced 50-ish% win rate, people cannot tolerate them in her game. There's no room to buff them in any direction, right? Because people don't like her passive, her Q, W, E, R, all of it. They hate it, right? Then Mel players have nothing to look forward to, because they can't play their character. They're banned all the time. There can't even really be Mel one-tricks, because her ban rate is just so astonishingly like overbearing and omnipresent. With this in mind, right, you know, Riot and Misery, who designed Mel, would love nothing more than for people to play the character that they designed and had a huge hand in creating. And people can't because of the ban rate, so they're going to try making her a lot less frustrating. Why is she frustrating? I'm sure a lot of you viewers don't need me to answer that question for you and have plenty of your own reasons for why to hate this character, but I am still going to try and encompass all the reasons that I've seen and try to show how it's not just one thing, because I think a lot of people boil why Mel is so strongly disliked down to just her reflect is freaking annoying, or her range is too long, or she does too much damage with her basic attacks. And not just a combination of those factors, but those factors that work together to create an even scarier and more frustrating experience for the person playing against Mel. I think that this would do some good, talking in terms of gameplay design, like what makes something so unbelievably frustrating, okay? I want to start at her reflect, because her reflect is the easiest hotshot to go straight for, right? But I'm actually going to start it a little bit differently. Here is a page of a champion class called Skirmishers. Skirmishers, which are also known as duelists, aim to shred through any nearby enemy that approaches. Skirmishers lacked high-end burst damage usually, or reliable ways of closing in on high-priority targets. That's usually going to be like ranged mages and ADCs. That's what high-priority targets usually means. They don't have like super far mobility to reliably reach them. They are instead armed with situationally powerful defensive tools to survive in the fray, along with extreme sustained damage to cut down even the most durable targets. Now, I want you to focus on this part. Skirmishers are typically armed with situationally powerful defensive tools. So a couple things. This list of champions that you're seeing down here is not absolute. Any list that you see, especially on a wiki page of all things, is not absolute. And the League of Legends subclasses, like skirmishers, like artillery mages, like marksmen, their pages, their systems, all of this, it's vibes. It's guidelines. It's not absolute. It's not something that you follow like it's a book. But someone who wants to pick up a new character, right, based on maybe a specific playstyle that they know that they like if you know that you like playing a skirmisher, it might help to come to this page and just page through what these characters are, and reading this subscription should give you a general idea of what they do. Additionally, someone who just had a frustrating game against a champion can reverse engineer it by finding the class that they are. Like if you had a frustrating time against Ambessa, you might find that she's a skirmisher, and you might be able to read through this and maybe find some type of counterplay or weaknesses, right? They, like skirmishers, usually lack high-end burst damage or reliable ways of closing in on high-priority targets. Ambessa may not have been the best example because she has her ultimate, although ultimates also usually get to break rules. Ultimates get to be a little bit special, right? Ambessa has a very powerful gap-closing tool. As for her burst damage, I mean, she does have to combo a lot, right? I mean, she does kind of burst you with abilities, but she has to cast like multiple abilities and do attacks in between to do all of her damage and all that jazz. So she won't just straight up one-shot you like an assassin, right? Which assassins are slightly higher on the page, right? Like, she does not have the burst speed of Rankar, or Pike, or LeBlanc, right? Like, just a slam into you and you're dead. Or like AP Katarina, like, kills you within a second, right? Like, Ambessa needs at least a little bit of time so that you can react with a flash or barrier or some defensive summoner spell, or maybe your support can peel for you or something, right? Now, why I want you to focus on the defensive tools part here is because if you look at champions like Fiora, like Gwen, like Jax, like Yasuo, all of them have the most game-warpingly powerful defensive tools in the game. Yasuo has Windwall, Gwen has Hallowed Mist, Fiora, Parry, Jax, Counter-Strike. And similarly, not all skirmishers have strong defensive tools, like Lilia relies entirely on just having high movement speed. She just runs around all over the place. Or Riven just has a shield, right? Just a generic shield. Sylas has a generically high power, high potency heal. But in the guidelines, usually really powerful game-warping defensive tools go to skirmishers, going to melee champions. Why do they normally go to skirmishers? Because ultimately, the shoe is always on the skirmisher's foot to come to you to do their damage and do their job of killing you. If you're playing a poke mage, or someone like Lux, hitting them from really, really far away, right? Maybe your Lux route forces Fiora to use parry, and she burns it, and she protects herself, and she's safe, and she's fine. Or it forces Gwen to use Hallowed Mist or something. They still aren't actively doing damage to you. They got rid of a cooldown that you had, and, you know, they blocked it even though it should have hit, and that has, you know, that's annoying. I get it. Totally cool. Or maybe even like you get hit by, like Fiora gets hit by the root, you try to combo her Lux, you throw your E, you throw your ultimate, and she just parries the entire thing, and just all the damage is gone, right? Okay, yes, your stuff got blocked. It's frustrating, right? However, Fiora still has to be close to you. She does. Like, yeah, her parry has some range to it, but not that far. Not Lux range, right? And all of her damage is in melee range. Fiora, even if she has movement speed, even if she has a dash, she still has to get to you and start attacking you in order for the game state to change in Fiora's favor. When she uses parry to block a tool like that, she's just still not losing. But even then, now she has to get close to you without her defensive tool. Even more so with Gwen. Hallowed Mist is a ridiculously overpowered defensive ability, and no one's going to deny it. And yes, Gwen has a ranged slow. Yes, she has a dash with a bit of a cooldown reduction mechanic. But Gwen still has to get to you. And if you make her burn Hallowed Mist with a ranged spell, then she doesn't want to get close to you anymore, because she doesn't have her defensive tool that's going to keep her alive when she gets close to you. As, you know, these champions usually have to get into everybody's effective damage ranges on the enemy team in order to do their job. That's why skirmishers have these. Now, let's go to artillery mages. Because on the wiki page, Mel is labeled as artillery. Many people would label her as burst, or some would even say that she's a specialist and doesn't quite fit artillery, especially because you might notice her spell range is slightly shorter than everything else here on the list. Spare maybe like, well, Varus and Jace are funny, but like maybe Hui, right? Hui basically is only here because of his lightning bolt, but I digress. Artillery mages are the masters of range. They leverage the advantage to whittle down their opponents over time from great distances. In turn, they're severely punished when enemies finally succeed in getting close to them due to their extreme fragility and highly limited mobility. Okay, if we look at the few examples that do exist, because artillery mages are very rarely made because they're very high frustration already, Ziggs does have a dash on his W, but his W comes out pretty delayed even if you use it at close range, and it is also his only stun. He has a slow on his E, but he doesn't have any direct defense. He does not have a shield, or a heal, or damage reduction, or anything of that nature. Xerath, even more so. His stun gets stronger the farther that it travels, so like being close to Xerath also means that he can't even stun you for as long. So trying to get you away from him basically requires that he burns flash, right? He has tons and tons of extra long range damage that's also very hard to dodge, by the way, and, you know, more on the Xerath to hit it. kind of like Mel, but he has no direct defense whatsoever. He has no mobility in his kit whatsoever. He has to rely on summoner spells and teammates for all of that. Vel'Koz, he has a CC, he has a knockup, that's it, right? No mobility. Varus, no direct defense, just like one slow, no mobility. Well, no, he has a root on his ultimate. Sorry, he has a root on his ultimate, that's a thing, right? Lux has her root and a defensive shield. She does have her barrier on her W. And actually, if you look at everything besides Mel, that's pretty much as powerful of a defensive tool as you get, is like a good shield. And Lux gets a good AP scaling shield. And then there's Mel. I think that Rebuttal, her reflect ability, is what I would consider a skirmisher level defensive tool. It's the kind of ability that I would expect to exist on a melee or close ranged champion. Now, Mel is not the first champion to get such a defensive tool. I think that might go to Samira if we're talking specifically non-ultimates. Ultimates kind of change things. Like Lysandra can become invulnerable, but it's also her ultimate. There's like a lot of funny things. Again, ultimates get to break rules, but for a basic ability on a longer than average basic ability cooldown, Rebuttal is without a doubt the best defensive tool an artillery mage has gotten by a country mile. It's arguably stronger than a lot of these Slayer's defensive tools, arguably. Not definitively, but it definitely contests some of these characters, and I would expect a spell like a Reflect that makes you invulnerable to all damage to go to a skirmisher champion, for sure. I wouldn't even expect a movement speed boost on top of that, and Mel gets that too, which also does something about the limited mobility that they have. Mel also gets a movement speed boost. Starting with just Rebuttal, it's already way too powerful for a champion of this class to have, but what else does she have going for her that's over other artillery mages? Well, for one, she has, from what I can tell here, probably the most like guaranteed damage that you could get, except maybe from like the AD'd ones here, Varus and Jace, because they have like stronger auto attacks as physical damaging champions. Hui's Lightning Bolt, very dodgeable if you're not slowed. All of Lux's spells are very dodgeable at their max ranges. Same with Vel'Koz, with like his geometry shenanigans. Xerath is probably the closest you're getting to this level of not dodgeability, which is part of why Xerath is also notoriously good with scripters. You have a robot playing the game with frame-perfect timing on their abilities. It's very, very difficult to just dodge Xerath continuously, even more so if impossible if you're slowed or CC'd in any form. And then like Zig's Bomb, if you try to throw it like at an extra far distance, its bouncing is very slow, right? Not Mel's Q. Mel's Q's travel time is incredibly fast. It almost doesn't even regard for the distance that you're throwing it. Like its travel distance is far. It extends out of its own range with its AoE. You only need one tick of it to do the majority of what Mel wants to happen, which is get hit with Arcane Comet, get hit with Liandry's Torment, get hit with whatever other spell items that she has going on for it. So a little chip of the damage there is still going to go through, even if you end up walking out partway through. She also has empowered auto attacks from her passive, which she gets for casting any spell, and she doesn't have to just do it immediately, like she has to auto attack then use another spell to get the effect again. It stacks up to 3 times, so she could use her W to protect herself, her E to root a person, her Q to hit them, then auto attack and get all of the damage from all 3 of those spells, giving her an empowered attack, all of them at the same time. Or she could just do E, Q, R, and then finish with an auto. Lots of guaranteed damage. Her ultimate, too, is a more guaranteed burst. It can't miss. Once it's on a person, once a person is marked, they have to use Zonia's or something, or they're going to be hit by ultimate. It's just going to happen. It's not even targeted. It's just automatic. To say nothing about her W also re-aiming projectiles at people, and if it's a point-and-click ability, it returns to sender immediately with no way to dodge it. And even if you dodge the root portion of her E, you're probably still going to get hit by the slow if you're at a range where Mel would want to use it anyway. You try to dodge the skill shot, you get punished for dodging the main part of the skill shot by getting hit with the secondary portion of the skill shot. There are only a couple skill shots like that in the entire game. I think all of them are kind of problematic. All of them are pretty annoying. Like, Heimerdinger Stun is another example of like, yeah, you can dodge the bomb and then still get slowed. At least you're not stunned, but it sucks. It doesn't feel very good to like dodge a skill shot and still be punished and take damage, and also, more importantly, CC for it, of any variety, slows or otherwise. On top of that, she has her Execute, which makes it very, very easy for her to also rack up kills easily. And that Execute also helps her a lot with farming, even under tower. so she usually has a lot of money and a lot of gold. Yes, she's balanced around this gold though, so that's at least nice, right? She's balanced around having higher than average gold because she can easily snag kills from her teammates regardless of what's going on, and farming should be near perfect on her. Overall, the frustration with Mel is extremely high because of how Rebuttal and her identity as a long-range poke mage interact with each other. If you remember what I was saying about Fiora as my example, it is still on Fiora to get close to you. Same with Gwen. It's still on Gwen, after using the defensive tool or not, to get close to you to do her job. Using the defensive tool is kind of a win in its own way because of the fact that that's going to make it way harder if you do engage on them. Because they have to be close to you. They have to be in attack range of you. Mel does not. Mel can burn her reflect, and even if the reflect amounts to nothing, and that pressure is gone, it is a loss for Mel, I won't deny it, right? Mel can still poke you from farther away than most other champions can. And unless you played another artillery mage or someone similar who can outrange Mel, you're probably going to get poked out. You're probably going to keep getting chipped down from really, really far away, because as an artillery mage, Mel excels in the neutral game when no one's fighting. She can get those free pokes out, she can get those free chips, those spell item procs, all of it. And at the same time, strongly discourages that you actually engage on her because her reflect makes her immortal, and her reflect just shuts down engage tools, CCs entirely, all of it, the whole thing. An experience like that is going to frustrate a ton of people. To say nothing about how, I don't know, Mel is playable in mid and ADC, and some people force her support even though she's not good there too. All is a counter pick. Lots of mages get countered by Mel. Some assassins, they burst too quickly. Like, their burst damage is too fast, so her rebuttal can just eat all of it, and then give her teammates enough time to react and respond and save her. A lot of mages have a lethal skill shot that will just be lethal on them. Like LeBlanc, it's rough. As LeBlanc as a mage assassin, oh, it's rough. The Mel matchup is not easy if the Mel knows what she's doing. Not at all. Ahri, you gotta fake that charm. You have to fake out the charm. It's really rough trying to play Ahri into Mel. Then you go bot lane, right? There's a good chunk of high burst damage oriented or ability based ADCs who do not like fighting this champion. I am a Samira player. Again, I think Samira is really annoying. Doubly so because if I am using ultimate, I can't cancel my ultimate. I can't direct my ultimate towards specific people. So if Mel's in the range and she reflects it, I will take bullets to my face and I can't stop it. If I'm standing on top of Mel, every bullet at once is getting directed back at me. I will just evaporate. Like, the fact that I have to lose so much damage while Mel has reflect just because she might use it against me, because I can't do anything about it once I turn it on, is really frustrating. But another great example is Caitlyn or Jhin, right? Champions that have like telegraphed or like clearly shown like high burst damage auto attacks like Caitlyn's headshot or Jin's fourth shot. Mel reflects it, you're screwed. You're just screwed. You just do so much damage to yourself. Massive, massive, massive amounts of just damage, right? For doing what ADCs do, which is just use basic attacks against the usually out of position, squishy, hopefully immobile mage, right? Just reflects it back at you, you're dead. You're just dead. You're squishy, you're immobile too, and the reflect just kills you. It's really frustrating. Some supports, I was already talking about Thresh. Some supports do really well into her and can actually use her rebuttal against her. Leona's the funniest example of throwing the E at her, she reflects it, and then Mel's forced to engage onto the Leona. Which is even worse for her. It's like it turns into like a hook, which is really funny. Like, aside from like niche interactions like that, a lot of supports really can't stand fighting Mel either. A lot of supports have to really struggle into the matchup. Like, Morgana root getting reflected is always devastating. Like, Morgana, if she ever wants to go in on a Mel, has to use her black shield before she can even cast her root, or else Mel will just reflect it, root Morgana, and then Morgana dies. Experiences like this are going to garner a high ban rate. You have tons of people who get hard countered by Mel in any of these roles who just can't stand the idea of having to fight this character, so they ban it. On top of that, you have other people who just don't critically think about how to counter Mel in a team-coordinated setting or in a solo queue setting, so they just ban it because it's scary. And sometimes Mel just gets good, she gets fed, and when she's fed, you're finding that she does tons of unmissable damage, she just executes you from super far away, and anytime your teammates try to do anything, she just throws it back at them, and you trauma ban her, right? And all of this amounts to, I'll remind you, a ban rate that has never ever once in 1 year dropped below 20%, ever. Even Yumi dropped, like, below 20% at some point. after her release or otherwise. It's been a whole year for Mel now, and she's still struggling with this. I think I've maybe monologued a little bit too long on just why Mel is super frustrating. I just think that a lot of people try to oversimplify it, and I think we need to actually dig into the complexities of why Mel's annoying. Now that we figured that out, and now that I've shared why I think that Mel is super highly frustrating, let's get to the actual change list. She's getting a little buff to her attack speed because she had like an outlier stat. A lot of mages do have decent attack speed because it was like a big global patch that they gave to a ton of mages to help them farm. So giving her a little attack speed, this is ultimately kind of nothing. For her passive, they're trying to lower the damage of the little projectiles that she gets, the little motes that she gets on her auto attack. They have lower base damage late game, they have a lower AP ratio. Overall, the damage is getting massively reduced from like 150 plus 15% AP at max level to 75 plus 9% AP, right? They did a bug fixed, certain champion spawned units dying to overwhelm from an unempowered basic attack, alright. Some visual clutter was taken out, which is nice, but overall, just, weaker passive because it's unmissable guaranteed damage, and people don't like that. People have reported that her passive is a very high part of frustration. For her Q, this is a big one. So her Q, ultimately, all these changes amount to making her Q dodgeable. It's going to hit a smaller area, in a smaller explosion radius. It's going to travel more slowly, and it's going to take a little longer to come out. I had mentioned this again. Going back to artillery mages, a lot of their spells at their longest ranges are dodgeable. All of these were like dodgeable, and Mel's really weren't. So to fix that, they're going to make her Q travel a lot slower. They're going to make it hit a smaller area. Also, I'm pretty sure they're going to add some visuals to it to make it more, stronger area telegraph visual. They're going to make it easier to see so that you can also see what you're trying to dodge, which is nice. The mana cost is going to get a little cheaper. It's going to do more damage to minions so she can farm a little faster. Okay, she can nuke waves, whatever, that's intended. And now, here's a big one. Now, right, because already most of the damage is coming from that first hit and then item procs, right? That first tick of damage is going to be the biggest chunk of damage that is taken. Everything else is just going to be a tiny DOT in the area. So Mel is going to, focus a lot more on landing that first hit, which you can now miss more often and can be dodged a little bit more easily. And then when she gets that first hit, she's going to be more rewarded for it by a lot. She's going to get a lot more damage in addition to her items, right? And then the subsequent hits are really more just in case someone is like CC'd or something, so they're forced to stay in the zone. They'll take all of the spell damage to like 95%, which is nice. Okay, now for her W. This is a massive one. So damage immunity's gone. So if you were a really high burst damage, really fast burst assassin, you can actually one-shot a low health Mel now. In theory. She's gonna get a shield, and a pretty good shield according to the AP ratio, if I'm reading that right. A pretty good shield, right? But if she's low on health and she's trying to hold reflect for her teammates, you as an assassin can actually do your job into the squishy, immobile mage who's low on health now. This is going to help a bit with bringing her defensive tool in line with what her class should have. Full damage immunity was definitely too much, and I'm really grateful that it's gone. Again, going back to how skirmisher level defensive tools work, immunity is a big part of that. Becoming temporarily immune when people might use their entire kit on you in a moment. Really important. For an artillery mage, it's overkill. Massively overkill. A shield like Lux is already more than enough. Now, due to Mel's identity as a character, and especially because of the clip in Arcane, I don't think the Reflect truly is going anywhere. In fact, looking also at some of her gameplay insights as well, the Riot of Misery, right, the writer of these changes also, probably does not want to get rid of the ability because there was a lot of very complicated tech that went into making this ability. And it's core to her. It's core to Mel. It's a core part of Mel's kit, and that's not going to go anywhere. So of course Mel will probably always be a very high impact, frustrating, game warping-ish champion. But at least getting rid of damage immunity and making it a shield instead is a lot more palatable. At least especially as long as the shield only lasts about as long as Reflect, only maybe slightly longer. For some more changes. Physical damage that is reflected will first be reduced by 30% before magic damage conversion happens. So you'll take less damage, especially as like an ADC, like I was mentioning Caitlyn and Jhin earlier. You're not going to one-shot yourselves anymore with your auto attacks. That's nice. Any physical skill shot, in fact, will not do quite as much damage, which is also nice. I think this in part came down to how base armor values and armor is built more often. Base armor is usually a little bit higher and armor values are built more often than magic resist is. So converting a physical damage number that's usually higher into magic damage then caused the lower resist to be hit, and that caused a lot of problems. Hopefully this will help deal with that bad feely part of just one-shotting yourself as Caitlyn. I really hope it does. Also, and I was mentioning this again with Samira, how I literally can't ult because Mel can just kill me with it, and I can't do anything once I turn it on. It now destroys projectiles that target each unit in an area instead of reflecting them when those projectiles aren't targeting Mel. The following abilities is the list that's affected. We have Ryze E, we have Brand E, Katarina Ultimate, Samira Ultimate, and Yunara Q. I was looking through the comments and I at least saw that it was strange that Kai'Sa Q was not added to the list. I think that Kai'Sa should be added to the list because she also can't direct or choose who's targeted by her Q, so it makes sense in my opinion. But this is good. It's nice that some of these champions who were so disproportionately or less proportionally affected by this actually get to play the game into Mel now. So even when you're not targeting her, like, she won't just kill you. Because, you know, simple single targeted spells, you just don't aim it at Mel. And Mel might be able to like run in front of them and reflect or whatever, but if you're like aiming away from Mel, it shouldn't hit Mel. Or skill shots, even easier, just aim away from Mel. Abilities like this, there's quite literally nothing that you could do about it, except just not use the ability, which is not really fair counterplay in Riot's eyes, and in my eyes. Now to help out with this utterly cataclysmic nerf to Mel, she's going to get a little bit more decaying movement speed for double the length. I have some fears about this, but then again, most of this seems very nerf-centric. I think adding lots of counterplay to Mel's kit alone is already going to be going to make the nerfs more influential than any buff that they could give her. And she's already at like a 46% win rate. So I'm okay with this. I'm okay with buffs, even pretty influential things normally, like adding more movement speed. I'm cool with it. I'm chill with it. Just gonna see how it falls out. Maybe they change it at some point. Maybe if the movement speed's a problem, you know, they revert the movement speed buff and give her power somewhere else. I don't know. But finally we have her E, Solar Snare. It has a smaller radius. It doesn't last as long at the end of its travel distance. Its DOT radius is smaller. Its cast range is smaller. And its projectile speed is slightly faster. Its root duration no longer scales with level, simply being the max 1.5 seconds right out of the gate. And its damage is getting increased, and the damage over time is also getting increased. So, smaller area means slightly more dodgeable in theory. Slightly faster projectile speed, however, means that it's not going to be the snail's pace sluggish skill shot that it was before. It's probably going to be a little bit closer to like Morgana Q or Lux Q as a root. So, a little bit more reliable to hit the root portion for Mel, which most players kind of like that simple hit or miss type of functionality better. And then with the smaller DOT radius, it'll hopefully be more cases where when you dodge the skill shot, you actually dodge the whole skill shot and you don't get hit by it. I'm not sure. I'll have to really keep an eye on specifically how this one works, but I'm alright with it. Overall, I like these changes. I think they're pretty great. I think that something like either shortening her range or reducing her travel times would be absolutely necessary for her future as a champion, and they did one of those things. Her Q takes longer to travel. Her E is faster, but it's actually a lot smaller, right? I honestly was okay with her passive, and I kind of like to... I fiddled with my own ideas of maybe like a battle mage focus thing where they shorten and tighten her ranges, but then she has more like auto-weaving between her spells, right? Using her passive actually for more damage, but because she's shorter range, like she's in threat range more often and can't just reflect absolutely everything. But all in all, I like it. I'm probably going to take Mel off of my own ban button for a while. Maybe I like move to perma-banning Yone or something. I don't know. I know Nunu's really overpowered, but he's getting nerfed next patch anyway. We'll see what's really strong then. I like this. I'm going to try playing against Mel a couple of times and just seeing how I feel dealing with her and her nonsense. It's kind of likely this will come out extremely weak. If it comes out extremely weak and they buff it, we'll see if the counterplay on it still holds. We'll see if her ban rate still stays low. It's kind of expected that they want her to be weak because they're trying to what they're really trying to do right now is lower the ban rate. And the last thing that we need is a stigma of this new reworked Mel being ridiculously overpowered on release and needing to be nerfed 17 times, right? In order to actually like lower everything. So I really hope that this rework works out the way that Emisery intended for it to, and I wish them well on all of their adventures. That's everything. Now then, if that's all you wanted to see, thank you so much for coming in and tuning in. For those of you who come here a lot, I just wanted to say, I am working on another gameplay design talk right now. It is almost done. It should be done in within the week, I think. And I'm just putting this out first because the changes were announced literally today after my first day of college, my first day back at college on my second year. And, I had to say something. I mean, I've wanted to talk about Mel's gameplay design for a while, although I didn't just want to make a hate post in her current iteration, especially once I heard that they were in fact making significant changes to her. This is kind of like my golden opportunity, right? These are the changes that are happening. They're gonna change Mel out. Hopefully she'll be a lot healthier and more tolerable to play against, and she'll stop being this ridiculously overhated nightmare of a champion. Anyway, that's everything. I hope you all have a wonderful day or night, whatever time it is for you. And that's all. Bye.